flying drones thousands of miles away, and all of a sudden they blow up an entire village, and you just hear, target destroyed. Like they're playing Call of Duty. And he goes, that's a psychopath.
But when they hit somebody, they get really excited.
Yeah, they start firing the rest of their mag up in the air.
I think I saw that
What's going on, everybody? Then we're going to try it again. What's going on, everybody? Suburbanist at you again.
Here to make your eardrums bleed.
Episode number 75.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. Whoa, indeed. And to commemorate 75 episodes, we're drinking a very, very special bottle of Planters Ozark Highlands whiskey out of Nobletons. It's their anniversary heritage, 2025. 57% alcohol. So what is that? 108? I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to say. I should know in the back of my head.
It's more than 100, less than 130.
But this is bottle number 50 out of like maybe 200.
Yeah, it was a
that will ever
batch.
exist.
Yeah. Yeah, that will never sell again.
No.
That barrel's done.
And
shout out to you, Demetrius, you
dude,
beautiful bald
we're going to
bastard.
have him on again. He met us up at Cottle Village the other day. And
Well, he was there. And
he was
just
there
happened
putting
to
up
show
stage lights. But, man, he gets a kick out of us.
Yeah, he wants to kick us.
He probably does.
Oh, man. And then having a house blend from Triple Leaf Cigar. My gosh. It blew into my hat and then came back down and went right.
Sucker
It's
punch.
so good, you can't get it out of your lungs.
That's right.
Yes, there we go. Look like a douchebag for an episode.
Atta boy.
You said this is from Triple Leaf?
This is
Yeah,
a Triple Leaf house
yeah.
blend. Pick these up. I would highly recommend just go drop by Triple Leaf.
Yep.
Jay, Jim, Barb are the three main staples over there. It's over off of Manchester Road in Manchester here in St. Louis. This specific house blend cigar it's a quadruple wrapper barber pole. In fact, I believe over there it's actually called just the barber pole. It's super cheap, but it's very good. You got your Candela wrapper, which is your green, the green shaded one, and then you've got a Maduro, you have a Habano, and then lastly you have your lightest one, which is your natural wrapper, and it's
Very good.
it's very good
Yeah.
for the especially for the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
It's not a complex cigar. I
No.
would
No,
say.
No.
for me this would be a daily cigar, a daily smoke if I smoked every day.
One day.
One day we'll get you there.
Yeah.
You know, if Winston Churchill is my hero, I feel like I need to at least take some more steps.
That's right.
Well, so last episode we spoke on media influence, our favorite movies, things like that, how they influenced us, and how basically everything that you consume influences you in some way, shape, or form. And so wanted to continue that conversation with personal influence. How we influence others, and most of the time I would, or at least 50-50, in ways that we don't even know, I think.
Yeah.
Take it away, gentlemen.
Well, first, let's try this.
Yeah,
Incredible
let's go.
stuff.
Let's
Cheers
go with
first.
this. Cheers to 75,
75.
and then to many, many, many more.
It's just bright fruit, just bright, crisp fruit. A little bit of cinnamon.
Yeah. Apple crisp is really,
I think that's the perfect way. Yep.
really there. That's, wow.
It's a beautiful.
Fantastic.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like how this whiskey is influencing our mindsets and our hearts right now.
Good segue, Dan.
It was kind of as we were talking through our most recent recording that, obviously the things that we take in influence us. But we were specifically talking about like media, so music, movies, TV shows, that kind of stuff. But I think one thing that we really kind of left out was the importance, or the impact rather, of the influence of others. Which, I mean, God made us to be very social creatures, and so we're meant to be, even the most introverted people need some sort of social interaction at some point throughout the day, I would say. Just to keep, I guess, spiritual balance and spiritual, emotional balance. Now, granted, there are those people out there that can go days, weeks, and then obviously you've got your monks that there are certain monasteries that actually limit social interaction to try to influence and try to create more of a prayerful atmosphere. But there's a deep connection between all of us, and I think that's harnessed through the influence that we all give to each other. And that's based on the influences that we receive. Are you trying to bite my smoke?
No, I yawned. Sorry. You're not boring me.
Looked like my
It's
smoke
been a
was
very long day.
looked like my smoke was coming to you, and you just try to like. So I started to get a little worried.
That's a bit strange.
I was like, I've heard of trying to bite your own ear, but
You ever seen a dog try to bite bubbles?
Uh-huh.
That's the vision.
yeah, that's kind of what I was seeing in the corner of my ear. It was just you trying to bite bubbles.
Such a funny
Sorry.
sight.
But yeah, I think we take for granted how much influence we have on others. And a lot of that comes from the influence we receive through those media platforms first.
Yeah.
And then that comes through our quote unquote our individual personalities onto others. And so
Well, there's where you
done.
so where we should just do that. Like say something. Done. Just pass it to the next person.
Finished.
Well, there's a study that came out years ago that it only takes like 5 to 10 seconds of influence to potentially make or ruin someone's day if it's strong enough. And so, like I'll give an example. So, I didn't know this until today, but individual mail carriers are particular about their route, and therefore they can make decisions about their own personal route. And my mail has not been delivered in the last 5 days.
Nice.
Because 2 weeks ago, I got a letter from my driver saying, I don't like the fact that your mailbox wobbles a little bit, so stabilize it more, otherwise I'm not delivering your mail.
Pretty sure that I
And-
thought that would. Is that not a crime?
I don't know. Like, they're not, it's not that they don't have it, it's that they won't put it in the mailbox.
So they'll at least give it to you, right?
No, I've tried multiple times, and he's like, no, people can't come up to the, sorry, I hit the mic. People can't come up to the car anymore. I just got to drive away. And they'll keep it at the post office. They won't keep it on their route.
What?
Yeah, it's just a small irk. It's fine.
I would just leave nails outside your neighbor's mailbox.
And so I went in today, and I was like, hey, I had my
I'm
mailbox.
totally kidding, by the way, for anyone listening. I was
Not
being
slashing pop.
I don't
I was
know.
being facetious.
I feel influenced. I think that's a darn good idea.
Like, I went up there to collect my mail, and the lady was like, "Oh, are you serious?" I go, "Yeah." They said that I have to stabilize my mailbox, so we're getting it professionally fixed tomorrow. And she goes, "Ooh," and I go, "Yeah, there's a career I didn't know existed."
Professional mailbox fixer.
Stabilizers.
But I was like, "Yeah, we're getting it fixed tomorrow, so can you get my mail for me?" And she's like, "Yeah." And so she brings it out, and I had to package my monthly Pravada subscription, so it was cigars, and she saw in the package, and her face just lit up, and she goes, "You're Adam Adams!" And like, there's like 20 people in the freaking office, and they all just look over, and I go, "Yes, ma'am, I am." And she goes, "I've been waiting to meet you." And I was like, "What? What?" And she goes, "Well, I forget her name, but she was like, her down there. She waited on you last time you were in here, and I thought your name was so unique, and I needed to meet you." And she was like, "I hope you have the best day."
Wow.
And I was like, "Thank you, ma'am. It's nice to meet you as well." And then, I left, but I thought, well, shit. That felt pretty good.
That just made your
It
day.
made, like, I had a shit day. That made it.
It was a nice little tap on the rear. Good game, buddy.
Way to go, Mom.
It's so true, though. It doesn't take much.
No.
You can just being a little, civil and pleasant. It doesn't take much from you. In fact, usually if you're having a bad day and you treat someone else really nicely, I feel like more often than not it turns your day around too. So it's advantageous.
And it's not difficult either.
No.
But on the flip side of that, it's not difficult to hurt someone's day either. Mm-hmm. And I would actually venture to say, because we do live in a fallen world, and that is kind of a broader scope of what I'm trying to say, but essentially, I mean, we live in a world that tends to lean more negative than positive.
Right.
And so I would say it's probably easier to ruin someone's day.
Mm-hmm.
Very.
Just
It's simple.
like if you work in a drive-thru, hey, I don't know if you're the kind of person that needs to be ordering this kind of food. Whoa.
Or just straight blind, like, we're all out of fries.
Or on the other end, you could be the person receiving a shake. The person could go, "I hope you have a blessed day."
Yep.
You look at them dead in the eye and you huck that shake back at them. Guess what? Now they got to clean it up as you drive away. I wanted chocolate. I did not ask for vanilla. A succulent Chinese meal.
I knew you were going with that. Is it a crime?
Stop touching my penis.
I gotta bleep that out.
No, we won't.
Actually, the correct, it's the way he said it was unhand my.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Just search overdramatic man gets arrested at a Chinese restaurant. You'll know what we're talking about.
I'm pretty sure if you go on YouTube and look up succulent Chinese meal, it'll
that's
also
probably
pop
what
up.
you'll find. Yeah.
You actually find out that he's a scam artist.
Oh yeah.
I found future interviews with him, and yeah, he's a scam artist. And I don't know if he was doing that day. I don't remember now, but
What do you mean? Was it like an Italian meal instead
No.
of Chinese?
no, I think he would like do things like that to get free food. But yeah, it's pretty good.
It'll make your day.
Just a dine and dasher.
Yeah,
Finally
Probably.
caught.
pretty much.
Oh, that reminds me of the episode of Michael Scott where he gets lost and he forgets his wallet, so he goes to eat in this huge Chinese meal, and they took a picture of him and put it on the wall. It says, "Hey, holding a sign that says thief."
And he's smiling at me.
No, he's just looking off the camera like Steve Carell perfectly does. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's like an hibachi grill.
it's
a buffet.
something like that. Yeah, it's a Chinese buffet. He just eats to his heart's content. He's like, "By the way, I have no money."
And then before it cuts to commercial, the person who's there is just like,
Dude, don't they make him clean dishes in the back? I thought they.
No,
like,
I think he ends up
that's
getting
one of
away.
those butterfly effect things.
can't-
I thought that was what it was, but then I rewatched recently, and they don't.
Oh,
That must have been a different show.
or maybe that was a deleted scene.
I don't know. Maybe. Golly, I gotta slow down. This stuff's so good.
Yeah,
It's really good.
it's pretty dangerous.
And this is the only bottle we'll get. So
yeah, I was gonna say we have a whole nother thing we got to get through. Now, granted, you're not driving.
oh no, I'm not worried about that. No. I'm not worried about that at
You know,
all. But influence.
Just about influence. You know, like Adam, you and I we're parents now, and
What? Oh right.
yeah. Sorry, newsflash.
Don't call me that.
But you know, there's so much influence that goes on just in our house. And we've talked about this before. Your kids especially. Mine's only 7 months old, so it's not quite
Only
the
so
same.
much destruction.
Yeah, there's exactly. Yeah.
Is he walking yet?
No.
Just wait.
No, but he is full on army crawling. He doesn't
Nice.
know how to crawl, but it's like the, and then
Oh, he's going to save his gentlemen.
Yeah,
He's going to save his men at war.
that's right. But just this idea that, nothing's really done in private. Like even if
Right.
you're home, like your kids are watching, the things that you consume can shape who you are, your personality for when you do leave the house. All these things can affect how you treat others. But getting back to like the children, like our kids are watching us,
Yeah.
and we really are going to have a profound impact in shaping how they are going to be.
Yeah.
Later on in life.
Go ahead.
Oh, just that like even a bad example could be a good example.
Right.
You see something, you're like, you know what, I don't really like that. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of correct that in yourself so that you don't go down that same path. Yeah, but it's a huge responsibility. Did you just shove that in my face?
No,
No.
I blew a smoke ring and he broke it.
Yeah, well, I felt this whoosh come right at me, so.
But I've told this story before about how my son.
How I break your smoke rings?
No, my son and daughter were the twins were in PSR one night, and all the kids were acting up, and my son said that he heard a voice that said, "I'd really appreciate it if you didn't act like they did." Or something along those lines. Like, it would be really nice to just be the calm student. And he felt like it was God. And he came home to tell me. And I said, well, what did that sound like? And he said, it sounded like you. And so it just further, because something else I've said on the podcast before, it further accentuates the fact that we are the first inclination of, how do I say it? We are our children's first conscience.
Right.
The influence that we have on our kids, and we are their first voice in their head,
Right.
because we are there to prove right and wrong. We're there to help them choose bad and good and the right choices and things like that. But the first influential voice that they have inside is their parents.
Right.
And so they see everything and they feel everything, and it's an age-old cliche, but it's true, is children are sponges. And it's there's not an ounce of evidence that I have that that's not true. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Dan and I game online, which, look out, Bourbon is Twitch channel. Probably eventually. I'd love to.
Depends on money.
Yeah, depends on money. Send us money.
Or not.
But we game online, and before a week ago, so we switched around the house, and my office is in a different room now, but it was in the room next to my son's bedroom. And I tend to get vulgar occasionally. And so
That doesn't seem right.
I picked up my son from school the other day. Jackass. And
Just going to skim right by us.
picked up my son from school the other day, and his teacher just nonchalantly came up to me, and he goes, so I'm sure you're aware that he uses these words. I was like, this is going to be an interesting conversation. And she goes, he came up to it. So there's like 3 teachers in each, because it's a daycare, right? But there's 3 teachers in each classroom. And he said he came up to them the other day, and he goes, this is the only, I'm just saying this for verbatim's sake, but he came up to him and he goes, fucker's not a bad word. And they were like, oh, okay. Well, it is. You shouldn't ever say that word. And he was like, but it's not. Stupid's a bad word. but fucker's not. And she goes, so I'm sure you're aware. And I go, no, he's never used that in my presence before. But I may need to move my office.
See, I think your son missed like your teacher was setting him up for T-ball. He could have just looked up at her and gone, you're a stupid fucker. That would have been hilarious.
Whoa. 2 bad words in one sentence.
Well, no, one bad, one good.
But I digress. The point is, we even when we don't think that they're listening. And I think that expands so far beyond children. Mm-hmm. It expands upon every single person. Now, this is going to tick off the anxious people out there, and it's really going to trigger you, so I apologize. But people are watching us at all times. Some people care more than others. But us observant people, like your ADHD friend behind the mic here, we see everything. So even if you think we don't, like we were at a picnic with a bunch of friends, and I'm not going to name who, but somebody I know, we were sitting there, and she's sitting there just digging.
Yeah.
I mean, digging up there. And this is a prim and proper woman. And she's
itching her brain.
Digging because she didn't know I was there.
Itching her brain.
And she goes like this. She goes. And I was like,
whoa.
For the audio only.
For the
audience.
audio only, she's digging up in her nose like, I mean, there's some sunken treasure up there. And she pulls out a honker.
Apparently it's
and
edible
then
treasure.
Just gobbles it. And my gosh, that changed my perception of her just a tiny bit. I was like, oh, so you're kind of a normal person. You're not prim and proper all the time.
Normal?
But
That was nice of you.
You're one of those.
normal as in you've got flaws.
You're still stuck on
But it's
third
one of
grade.
those situations where I was like, all right, I mean, people have their things, but everyone, calm down. It's okay. It's gross, but whatever.
Just
I don't know. That's kind of disgusting.
Hey man, my 2-year-old does it all the time.
There's quite a significant age gap.
they grow out of it.
Yeah. There's supposed to be a maturity gap as well.
My point is,
Do you not get enough to eat at home?
do you know the trauma theory on
Boogers?
No, on maturity. The trauma theory on maturity.
When you
So
experience
there's-
trauma, that's kind of the maturity you get stuck at.
Yes. So there's a theory that's
Same is true
actually
with addiction.
Yeah. So there's a theory that's really pertinent, and actually studies have shown that it's true and then also not true. So it's back and forth. But essentially, if you're at whatever age you go through a significant trauma, because like the trauma center of the brain is only supposed to hold so much, which is why during stressful situations, I can handle myself well. But if it's a certain situation of like a large man yelling or something, like I can't handle that situation very well. So like I don't handle confrontation very well, but I've been in life-threatening situations where I'm calm as anybody. And so like the trauma center of your brain can only handle so much. And so when you go through significant trauma, there's a theory that says the maturity that you are at that state of life is the level that you will never get above. So, like, I dated a girl in high school whose mom had her when she was 16. Her mom acted like a freaking 16-year-old because it was a significant trauma in her life, and I don't think she ever grew up. And so there's this, it's just a little interesting snippet for anybody who gives a shit.
That's interesting.
Yeah, get influenced, listener.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I think, though, because I think you can. I wonder how true that is that you can never go past that, because
I mean,
seems like
so that you can learn past it,
right.
but you don't mature past it.
I think you, well, I don't know, because I'm not a psychologist, thank God, but I feel like you probably could, as long as you ended up getting like true, complete healing from it. I think that would
and
probably
that's where
be
the
the
theory
only.
is faulty. It's like there is healing that comes from those things. And whoa,
You
I
mean
just got like really thick, grainy apple.
because nobody gets healed anymore and everyone just pushes it down because that's what everyone says to do is just push it down and
Amen,
ignore
brother. Amen, brother.
Don't allow it to influence you.
Or think about it too much and allow it to cripple you.
I do think there is some weight to that. Because you
Yeah.
can overthink about certain traumatic and just get stuck that way.
Yeah, that's true too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But kind of going back to what you were talking about how like parents influence their kids.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of seeing that right now. I'm seeing that with, so I'm not a parent, but my brother is, and my brother's a psycho. So is his wife. Shout out Tim, Bree. Yeah,
Love you too.
you're a little mental there, bud. But hey, it's kind of the pot calling the kettle black. But we had the same parents. But so his two twin boys, which are 2.5, so they're in their terrible twos. They are so much like how my brother was as a kid. Like, so one of them does not like confrontation, but basically when you confront him with telling him not to do something, this is the oldest one, he doesn't like it, and he'll show you that he doesn't like it. And he's learned this from my sister, who's kind of been the primary babysitter. God help those boys. But like, so when you're like, Jackson, no, don't do that, he'll look at you and just. So for those of you just listening, you probably just heard my tongue. Yeah. Basically, that's what he does. He rapidly sticks his tongue
Looks
out
like
at
you
you.
were gumming taffy.
Well, he'll just rapidly stick his tongue out at you because you're telling him no.
Mm-hmm.
To whereas the younger one, Jameson, will look at you, smile as he looks you dead in the eye, and continues to do it and will not break eye
100%.
contact.
Yep.
It's hilarious.
That's crazy.
Thank God I'm just the uncle. And then the other thing that really kind of sticks out to me, one of my favorite comedians growing up was his name's Russell Peters.
Oh yeah.
He's an Indian gentleman, and he's talking about him having a child, and I can't remember if it was a daughter or a son, but they were around 2 or 3, and he was picking them up from school, and he listens to more of like your 80s, 90s rap. So he's listening to Tupac, or either Tupac or Biggie.
Sure.
And he's got his kid in the car, and this certain part happens to where the N-word is dropped.
Sure.
Within 3 seconds, the kid ends up reciting the whole line, including the N-word.
Oh.
And so so Russell Peters is on stage talking about this, and he's like, as soon as my kid dropped it, he's like, no, bad word, don't ever say that. Your mother will kill me. Don't ever say that. But that's kind of like what you were saying. It's the things that we do and the things that we say, they pick up on everything.
Yep.
And it's not just kids. It's kind of like, also to tie in another point that you were saying, Adam, kids aren't the only ones watching.
Yep.
If someone isn't wrapped up in their own kind of things that they're dealing with, people are usually watching you as well, whether they know you or not. That's how I make my first impressions. You know, people say don't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes, though, I mean, inevitably, I think we all do, unless we give that book a chance.
Right.
But even then, I think a lot of times our first impressions on people are actually fairly correct to a certain point.
Right. Now, if you met someone who is at a party and he's just drunk, you're probably not getting a great first impression or an accurate one, especially if that's like a one-off thing.
Correct.
However, alcohol does reveal the truth for most people. So depending on how drunk the person is
And what they're saying.
you will understand very quickly who they are when they're drunk, at least.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
Because, like, I tend to be, I think a pretty quiet, well-mannered person. But if I, at a wedding, if I have a couple too many drinks, my swing dancing gets really crazy. I get goofy. It's like I might poke.
That was such That was the most wholesome.
My swing dancing gets
Dude,
goofy.
that
My
was
waltz gets quite formal. My tango gets snappy.
Meanwhile, everyone who's been around Joseph after a couple drinks, everyone's sitting there going, "Yeah, swing dances without pants."
That's not true.
No, that's not true at all.
No one can prove it. The videos were deleted. But hold on.
That was
Wait
the most
for the
wholesome-
rumba.
That was the most wholesome way to describe you as drunk. My swing dancing gets crazy.
You
Well-
ever seen what happens when you mix swing dancing and Roomba classes?
Oh boy. Yeah. And then my rumba, boy,
Dude,
my
that's
hips.
that's why I love you. Like you're so one of the many reasons, but you're so wholesome. Like you're not because you're right. It is just within your nature to just be a kind, good person. And so
has
when
its
you
faults.
do get when you do have too many, if it's at a wedding or at your Oktoberfest or whatever, you just get friendlier. Like
Right.
that's the only thing that's drunk Joseph is Joseph friendlier, and Joseph is friendly to begin with. So he's just louder and more talkative. Like that's it.
My brother used to tell me to like calm down because I would get like too energetic around people sometimes. You know, if I didn't see someone in a long time, I remember like at college, I ran into a friend and hadn't seen him in a long time. I was like, "Hey man," you know, I got really excited to see him. Michael's like, "Joseph, calm down." Like, were you really that happy to see him? I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, no one else needs to know."
My gosh, you're talking about influence.
No one else needs
Yeah.
you to be happy.
Shut
No
up,
one else.
Shut up, twin.
Yeah, it hurt.
No one else wants to see you happy.
Nobody cares about your joy.
We're all miserable here, Joseph.
I don't know. Maybe there's more. Maybe I'm forgetting some of the details, but he basically was just like, "You're too excited."
It's just one person, Joseph.
That's
It's not
true.
Jesus.
Quit being happy, Joseph.
Pisses me off.
Yeah, you're starting to really get on my nerves.
Sorry, my
You
God.
and- you
Made me
and
to
your-
throw him under the bus.
You
Oh
and,
no,
you and your joy.
he'll be fine.
You think your
fine.
betterness?
I'll talk to him.
He's fine.
He's a jerk.
He's
You
a
should
good-
meet him. You should.
He actually called me that one time. I think I was in a bad mood one time. I had my temper flared up. He's like, "You know what, Joe? You're a jerk. You've always been a jerk. You always will be a jerk."
Jeez.
And I was just crushed. I was like, "You killed my past, present, and future self." Where do I go from here? Lateral move.
How did you crush me eternally? How did you do it?
I felt like
Crushed me physically, spiritually.
I felt like Keanu Reeves at the start of John Wick 1.
With his dog.
Killed my
getting
dog. Oh my god.
I need to watch this.
Where'd you
movie.
get this car?
But Dan on the other.
I keep seeing that clip pop up. I need to watch this movie.
Oh, it's very good. Very graphic, but very good.
Yeah.
But graphic in like
It's not.
it's not terrible actually.
No.
We've seen
Just
worse.
Well-
yeah.
So I'd say the start of Saving Private Ryan is much worse.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorite movies, Fury, is
And even
much
then,
worse.
that's not that bad comparatively to everything else that comes out today, like Vikings and all that nonsense. It's like there's nothing compared to
I
Saving
didn't,
Private Ryan.
actually, Saving Private Ryan was actually worse than Vikings.
You think so?
From what? Yeah.
All right. So here's a question on that. Does the type of violence or the purpose of
I
the
was actually
violence
just thinking about that. Yeah.
does that change it for you? Make it better to easier to digest, accept.
I think it
think
depends
so,
on
yeah.
what. To me, it depends on what the intention is with violence.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Are you trying to? Are you actively trying? Are you artistically trying to portray kind of the worst of humanity?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. 100%.
So if, it depends on again the intention, or you're just doing it for shock and awe,
right.
right? Like what I've heard. There's a show called Squid Game. That's just
Oh yeah. That's just terrible.
it's just gore for gore's sake.
Yeah. Or like Saw. That was all gore for gore's sake.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
you
like
know.
I won't watch movies like Saw, you know, like those horror type movies, because there's no point to the violence,
Right.
Right.
and I can't emotionally and mentally like accept that and view it, like. But if I see that, you know, like horrible things, because we all know horrible things happen in war. So to watch that in a war movie, there's a context to it that matters to me.
Absolutely.
You know, so it's this guy fighting for his life and for his country and trying to get home to his
Yeah.
family. You know, all those themes play into it. But this random psychopath that kidnaps a girl off the street and then does these terrible things, I'm like, I don't want to watch that. That's
Right.
going to have a really
Dark impact.
dark impact. Even just like mentally, like I just don't want those images in my mind.
Right.
You know, I don't need to. I mean, innately we all know that man can have a dark side. I don't need to view it. I
That's
don't
a
need
good
to see
point.
that.
Yeah.
Well, and I do think there is certain times in which showing that again, like in an artistic way, to kind of show people, because I think shying away from it to a certain extent actually does us as humans, does us a disservice. Because I think, kind of like what Jordan Peterson says, we need to know the type of monster that we can be at our absolute worst.
Yeah, that's really good.
But there is a line.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it's not really a fine line. I think there's a pretty thick line.
yeah.
Again, it all depends on your intentionality behind it.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful. I agree that there's a point and there is a purpose, or there can be a purpose to it. But I think you have to be very careful how you're portraying it, what you're choosing to show, and to what extent you're showing it.
Right.
Because, I mean, brutality for brutality's sake, I don't think we need a whole lot of movies representing that.
Right.
Same
Correct.
thing with movies that like focus on some psychopath and he's and he rapes women, or drug cartels that traffic women, and or just cartel in general. I think we need to be careful how much we represent that, because at some point I think that can start influencing society, and maybe just in small ways at first, but when millions of people are watching it, if you changed I don't know, some percentage of those people by even a fraction of a percent, you're still bumping society a little bit into a gutter hole. And that stuff I think comes out in conversations. It comes out in what we choose to start accepting. We were talking about this last time. It starts desensitizing us.
Yeah.
And there is a power to media.
Yeah.
We have an extraordinary power in what movies can portray now, what the technology can capture. And I think there is a real power that comes with that we need to be very careful with.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
and-
it's not just, it's not a cheesy monster on screen anymore like Godzilla. It's, you're portraying
with horrible CGI.
Right. We're now able to really portray the darkness that exists in this world. And so for along the same lines, I'm just not going to watch spiritual horror movies either.
Right.
Refuse.
I think there's a danger to that. I think that
There's a spiritual danger to that.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I think you can open yourself up without realizing it to some of those really negative spirits and energy.
What a lot of people don't understand is a lot of people's favorite things is, well, God opens doors and closes others. Well, guess what? There's another force in this world
Right.
that can open doors just as much. Or,
Right.
better yet, more appropriately, you can open doors to them that you don't recognize. Mm-hmm. And they'll walk right the frick through.
Oh yeah.
One, Joseph, what you just kind of touched on was our own influences influencing others. So, and this was kind of the secondary point, which is that, so obviously the media and the people that we talk to influence us, and we turn that around and influence the loved ones in our life and those that we socially are around most.
Right.
Right.
And so, and this is, we have a major influence on not just our kids, but our friends, our family members, our coworkers, and that's all based and predicated on what is previously influencing us.
Right.
And so that comes out in how we act, that comes out in the words we say, that comes out in the way we hold ourselves. It trickles down to every single aspect of us, because like food, when you eat and digest food, it's called mastication. That's when you chew it in your mouth and then you swallow it and then it goes into your stomach. It breaks it down so that way your small intestine can absorb it or start to absorb the nutrients. And basically, once your small intestine absorbs those nutrients, it goes into every cell in your body, every live cell in your body, because every cell in your body needs some sort of energy in order to continue to maintain functionality.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with media. You listen, you see, you hear, you see certain things. You know, you can feel everything that your senses can absorb the same as your mouth absorbs food, which then enters into every cell in your body. And then you start to kind of, at the risk of sounding very new age and hippie-ish, like you do kind of portray certain spiritual vibration that goes out and starts to make an influence on society and others. And
Yeah. No, 100%.
It's no, I think I do believe that we all have an energy in us. I mean, it's just not that crazy to say. Some people take it to a weird extent.
You take it to a weird place, but the Bible calls it a spirit. We all have our own spirits.
Right. And I think our spirits can sense each other as well. You know, someone walks into a room and sometimes you just get a vibe, just a bad vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't think that that's judgmental.
No, it's called discernment.
Yeah, it's called discernment. It's
when
just
you're
being
in
in tuned, and I think you know it's important to listen to things like that.
something I've always just
No,
real
please.
quickly, something something that I've kind of thought about more so just now is I do believe that women are given a greater sense of intuition than us men.
I believe that.
I also think, well, in part, I think they have a greater ability to listen and to feel things out. Whereas I think us men, some of us can kind of just be going with the flow, and so we don't even stop to listen or to think or to feel.
Yeah.
And so something I've thought about is like going into a social scenario where there may be, you know, a good mix of men and women, and just look at the women and see who they're kind of situating around, who are they not situating around. Is there anybody that people are kind of staying away from, especially women? Because I mean, similar to what you said, I know plenty of women who have told me, like, when people come up to them, within about 5 seconds, they can instantly, they can intuitively tell.
Right. Now, there is a caveat to that. Some women are not good at it.
Correct. So again, it depends on what social scenario you're in.
And it also depends on how well that woman knows herself.
Are you in one to where everyone is drinking? Then don't do what I just said.
Right.
And in fact, I'm not saying to do anything. I was just, that's more of a food for thought.
Right,
Like
yeah.
going into a social scenario to where I guess the people there are a little bit more trusted.
Right.
Is there anybody there that people are kind of staying away from? Now, granted, some of that could just be that individual that people are staying away from just isn't very social.
Yeah, that's true.
So
too.
obviously, don't go into a social scenario and just stay away from the one person that everyone's staying away from. Never mind. What I said was dumb. Don't listen to what I just.
I think there's some truth to
The
that.
past
there
2
is, there
minutes,
is, there is.
tune out.
There's you know, nobody has power over you unless you give it to them. But we can make that really difficult for other people, you know. And so I think there's a real calling in. I mean, this is why, you know, you teach your kids to be respectful, to say please and thank you, to share. You know, these aren't just niceties for nicety's sake. Like there's a real impact that this can have on somebody else, and just being careless with your words and actions. You know, if you have a negative effect on somebody, I think that you're going to be judged on that after you die. You know, it's not. There really aren't that many. I don't really think there are accidents in life. You know, everything is a cause and effect by, you know, and it might be a string of events and people that have made poor decisions that finally reach you. You know, it might be, you know, the father and son that have a fight. The son storms out of the house and goes to a bar. He gets drunk because he's trying to drink away his problems. He goes out drinking, and, you know, he goes out driving and, you know, in an inebriated state, and then he, you know, crashes into somebody and, you know, and kills somebody. that's a series of bad influences, a series of bad choices that led up to this one innocent person dying. And so,
which has now made a deep influence on that family that
right,
has now
and
lost
so,
a member.
Yeah, that's a ripple effect that's going to affect the immediate family, maybe, just whoever is involved in that, young person's life. And so, no, I mean, you can't live your life being scared of everything you do either. And, other people have to make their own decisions too. But we have a part to play. We make up, as we teach in the Catholic Church and in the Christian Church, we make up the body of Christ. And in that family, we do have a responsibility to other people. We can affect their salvation. We can affect their joy and their peace in this life. And I just don't think that's something we should take for granted and be lighthearted about either.
Right.
We do have a responsibility.
Right. And I do love, actually, that this segues perfectly because we, all three of us, separately, but we all talked about this afternoon, that however humble that I can be, that this journey that we've been on with the podcast, it does affect people. However small the audience is or whatever. I've been chastised, which is just a really fancy word for saying somebody had a comment to improve my behavior. And
Somebody hit me.
and I've been, and shout out Abigail, because she is avid listener and she comments, she messages us on Instagram and tells us, how good the episode was and what, if it stood out to her and what it helped her with and different things. And, I've had people say, we've had people who have thanked us for getting a man's perspective in relationships because they had just gone through a breakup and it helped them through it. We have a mutual friend who's expressed certain disdain of certain topics, but then on the flip side, when we've revisited those topics, has been like, that was really well done and you explained it better and I liked that, and
you know who you are.
We're right. We're all very appreciative of those things, but at the same time, we sit here and take a dump on social media, but at the same time there are those positive influences out there.
You did what?
We sit here and we shit on how social media is bad for you because it can influence you, but at the same time, we're trying to be the opposite of that.
Right.
We're trying to be that portion of social media that's like, hey, let's be positive. How can we help you?
This is actually kind of nice.
Right. This is nice. Like, how can I help you today? How can I make your day better? How can I give you whatever knowledge you have, whatever knowledge I have, whatever knowledge Joseph you have, and just kind of put it out there and collectively and as friends and as brothers and in Christ and in the world and everything that we can be for other people. That's what we strive to do, is be that influence of like, oh, I didn't know that, or that's an interesting perspective. I didn't recognize that before because I was too caught up in my own perspective, and
right.
We need other people. We need influence. We can't survive alone. And anybody who tells you that they have is full of it. Because even the most successful people in the world were like, I started at the bottom and I made it myself. Yeah, well, you know what?
You're wrong.
You're wrong. You're wrong. There are people that helped influence you. There were people who gave you courage. There were people who you saw in the limelight and like, okay, that's what I want to emulate. That's the kind of character that I want to have. And I don't need to go into the whole category of characters, who we are when things are going wrong. But like, I don't know. I think we're trying to be influential in our own right, but not so puffed up and, well, you should, you should listen to us. Look at me. I know these things.
Look at
okay,
me.
but tomorrow that may change.
Right.
Look at the lotion I put on
I
my
may
head.
be influenced differently by, like, I had an incredible spiritual experience a couple of weekends ago where I felt like my mind was being constricted with the idea that I will never be enough. And my wife came over to me and prayed for me. And I felt the Lord say, because I felt like it was this serpent that was constricting my mind. Like that I will never be enough and nothing I do will ever satisfy anyone. And my wife came over and prayed for me, and I felt the Lord say, the woman shall crush the head of the serpent. Like, so this idea that I've had my entire life of like, it doesn't matter how hard I work, I won't be enough. And it doesn't matter how hard I work today, I'll never provide enough or whatever. There was this moment where an influence of someone else. Now, it was a very important person as my wife, but it was still an influence of a moment to where it completely changed the way I viewed myself because of how she chose to act in that moment.
Yeah.
That's beautiful coming from her, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say, like, if it was some random woman on the street who just came over and said, the woman shall crush the head of the serpent, you'd be like, back away, creep. Leave me alone. But, well, and this is where I don't want to, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but I almost kind of want to play the other side of the card, which is, there is some truth in that. Like, we are never enough on our own.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And it maybe
But
that was
notice how it's on your own. Like, again, like you hear all these, music artists say, I did this myself. I built this myself. Or you'll hear, some CEOs say, I did this myself. And it's like, no, you didn't, because you needed somebody else to give you some money in order to make your dreams a reality.
Yeah.
You needed somebody else to believe in you. You still needed somebody else to give you the right advice on what moves you should do next. That person's still helping you.
You needed your mother and father to conceive you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you needed two people at least. So
Yeah. So shut it.
loser.
Oh, humility go a long ways.
Yeah, I'll slap you with the hand I just had surgery on.
It'll hurt both of us.
Yeah, butt palm. For those of you that don't know the I guess the influence of that phrase, I just had surgery on my right hand to match the left, and I've got a nice little suture on the bottom part of my palm, or it goes about, would you say that's a quarter up my palm?
Yep.
Quarter up my palm, and then probably about 2 inches down my forearm. But the suture specifically on my palm
Looks like a butt.
kind of looks like a butt.
He's got a butt palm.
I've got a butt palm. Which means
got
I
an-
slap you, I'll
He's got
turn
an
you.
ass wrist.
Means I'll when I slap you with it, I'll turn you into the butt face that you are. How's that for an end?
Perfect.
Don't listen to us. We'll influence you. Go home.
Say no more.
Stay home. Drink whiskey.
Thanks so much for joining us at the table. We've got
Joseph.
Adam,
And the bald one.
They call Dan.
Daddy Dan.
Huh?
Huh?
That's a new
I've got
We'll
no
see.
kids.
We'll see you next time.
Help me.